I used Jesse, who's our legal assistant. So it's contract, it's IP law, and I looked at Paragon Honda. Big fan of Brian and what he's done. I've seen him speak so many times. He's always been so far ahead on so many initiatives. And one of the things, though, that even the best of us sometimes kind of not gap on, but it's kind of low in terms of the prioritization of all of the things that we have to do in a given day, week, month, year. One of those happens to be the website terms and conditions. So what I did was I asked Jesse, who's our legal assistant. So this is a contract, it's legal reviews. And again, I want to preface, even though that we have this, you still want to be able to go and reach out to lawyers for any major issues. Having said that, we do think that you can reduce so much of billable hours literally by 70%, 80%, 90% by using an agent, in this case, Jesse. I'll give a light example, and I'm going to move into a heavier example. The light example is website terms and conditions. So what I asked was, please ensure the last time that this was updated was April 2023. Ensure that the new policy conforms to all required New York State requirements as well as federal requirements. So I literally took what they had in existence, copied it, and then asked Jesse to take a review. So what Jesse did, and one of the things that's very unique of what we did with the system was we coordinated a bunch of different APIs, a bunch of different elements. Mike, I'm going to ask you to maybe just talk a little bit about that. So for instance, in this case, Jesse's using Perplexity, but we have a number of different plugins. If you can maybe explain
Yep.
how that works real quick.
Yeah. So agents, we have a library of plugins. So consider them like microservices that we can then pair up to agents so they can reach out and do things. And some are self-contained, like creating a CSV file or a calculator type of functions. Others are links into services that exist outside of our platform. So Perplexity is kind of like a version of Google using really good AI. So it does a phenomenal job of doing search based on your specific criteria, but then also creating summaries of those search while providing cited sources and links to those sources. So Perplexity is a phenomenal search engine. If you don't use it, you totally should. It's great, but then sometimes it's better to use Exa. And Exa is a search engine that does what's called a neural search. So when you look for something, but you're looking for an idea and you're not really sure, what Exa does is it takes that initial word search and then it starts to look for similar words and similar concepts and then does a more general search, helping you kind of reach a wider net of searching. So those are just two of them. We also have Flux integration for image generation, all sorts of different services that we can then use. So rather than our clients having to go to Flux and then go to Perplexity and do all these things, we bring all those tools to bear into a unified single experience and then connect it with the agent that it should be connected with for the right result, for the right impact.
And what makes this really interesting, and you're going to notice when I go to some of my other examples, I'm calling out specific New York laws versus federal laws, which may differ from other states or provinces or countries. So the ability for Jesse in this instance to be able to look for a New York-based dealership, all of the various technological integrations that Mike's been talking about, as well as the fundamentals of how the system was trained. This is where this is all coming into being. So what Jesse ends up doing is indicating, for instance, where some gaps are. So the policy that they currently have needs stronger language regarding consent and privacy controls. And even though that there is a section children under 13, it needs strengthening as it's not currently aligned with New York's proposed Child Data Protection Act. You've got data collection and processing with lack of specificity. And so you keep going through in terms of what's missing, where there's some gaps. So then what I asked Jesse to do is, can you update based on all the recommendations? So we get this updated terms and conditions. Now, the key, I think, when you're working with any AI system, and an issue that a lot of people make is they just take that first draft. But the reality is, when we're working with AI, this is really a collaboration. I really think of AI agents as team members. And I would never go out and whether it's a senior team member, a junior team member, or even a lawyer, I'm not just going to say, here's my question. They're going to give me an answer. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to ask other questions. I'm going to expand on it. What this allows me though with Jesse is I can do all this without paying $300 or $500 or $1,000 an hour. So what I've now done is said, okay, how does the updated version compare to the original? And because I already had the original, I need to re-update that. So now it starts to check dealership website compliance requirements. And again, it goes through and it says, here's key improvements, how to enhance, add detailed data collection categories, strengthen minor protection, etc. But then it indicates here's some additional updates. FTC safeguards rules compliance. You will notice we have incorporated really simple things like copy code. So you can just copy and paste directly very easily with one click. Core info. There's PCI compliance, advertising compliance, vehicle data protection, etc. And then there's areas that need expansion. So without going into all the details, I then simply asked it, update accordingly based on your recommendations for a full text version. So this is now what it's done. It's taken that original group of terms and conditions taken off of the site, and it's created a far more thorough but applicable to all necessary laws to fully update all of this. So now when you go in, it literally starts to break out everything from how data is being collected and processed to data usage and sharing, cookie policy, getting into FTC safeguards rule compliance, all sorts of payment security, PCI compliance, user rights and responsibilities, special protections under minor protections, etc., accessibility compliance, and then it gets into vehicle and service information, as well as other mobile applications, what's happening when it comes down to digital marketing, legal compliance, etc. But without stopping there, what I then asked it to do is to create a staff training program that can be implemented so that the staff understands the legislation, understands what these rules are. The terms and conditions aren't just about, I'm going to put this up to protect us. It's saying, here's what we're doing, which means we need a training program to ensure what we're saying is happening is actually being implemented. So what we then did was we had it create literally a compliance training program. So a 4 hours total split into 2 hour sessions, hybrid with online as well as in person, starting with things like the fundamentals, privacy basics. What are the privacy laws? What are proper data handling instructions, security protocols? What are you doing when it comes down to incident reporting procedures? What's happening with consumer rights in terms of privacy rights, specifically under New York law, data access requests, consent requirements, etc. Then getting into the next session, practical applications, hands-on training, CRM system privacy, secure documentation handling, customer interactions. How do you explain the privacy policy? How do we handle customer inquiries, etc.? Then it gets into, and this is one of the things that I love, role specific training requirements. What does the sales team need to know versus the service team versus admin and management? And then literally breaking out ongoing support, verification and monitoring, etc. So I'm not going to get into all the details, but you can see you could go quite deep. And along the way, you're seeing different questions. Would you like to review detailed content for each training module, which you can do? Should we create a detailed rollout calendar for the training program? When you think about the power behind this, it becomes exponential and doing the things that, quite frankly, who wants to update the terms and conditions? We did all of this. I did all of this within 10 minutes and at that level.